All right, now I'm talking with Marc Cunningham with Grace Real Estate and Property Management. Marc, glad to have you back.
Thank you. Glad to be here, Chris.
So let's jump into it. How did June pan out for you and your portfolio?
On the rental side of things, it was good. It was still pretty strong. I think last time you and I spoke, one thing we talked about was we had a lot of vacancies in the downtown Denver market, like the condo
Yes.
townhome market, and those things were just kind of sitting there. We did see just in the last couple of weeks, we saw a lot of movement on those, a lot of activities, and most of them did get rented, so that's a very good sign. But from everything that we're seeing in the market on that segment, it's continuing to slow. Rental rates are slowly ticking downward in that segment of the market. Suburbs are doing fine, but that downtown segment, especially multifamily, condo, townhome type stuff, is continuing to slow. So big perspective, what we see is you can't say like you used to, oh, it's a hot market. Right? Colorado's a hot market, meaning every segment of the market is hot. Well, that's just not the case anymore. The suburbs are still hot, single family rentals are still hot, but the segment of the market, and this is what we always see, the first segment of the market to take a hit when bad news is coming is that condo high-end market. And that is taking a little bit of a hit right now. We'll see if that continues on, but that is definitely slowing.
Okay. And as far as like, I know I can't remember the exact numbers, but I remember your rent collections for, April, May that we talked about, you were well above 90% and pretty much very close to what you were previous years. Did you see similar numbers in June as well?
Yeah, we have. So June's been very strong with rental rates coming in. We've been very pleased with that. July still, we're on July 9 right now. So it's still a little bit early to get a good feel for what July is going to look like. But overall, every month into the whole situation that we're in right now, we've been very pleased with the amount of rent collection. We've been well over 95% by the end of the month, with just a few stragglers. But overall, yeah, things are very strong that way.
Good. Really glad to hear that. Now, I know from talking with another property manager earlier this week that it sounded like, I think back in June 15th or June 20th, the eviction moratorium got lifted. How are you posting people on evictions? Like, what are you seeing on that side of things?
Oh, that's a very messy, sticky situation. So, if we go back last month, the governor of Colorado, Governor Polis, what he did is he lifted the eviction moratorium, but he said, however, if your tenant hasn't paid rent, rather than posting the state required 10-day demand notice, instead of that, I'm going to require you to post a 30-day demand notice. So your tenant has, so you can post a notice, yes, but you got to sit on it for 30 days, a month. Your tenant has 30 days to pay. So that 30-day moratorium, or it becomes it's not really a moratorium, but the 30-day extension, that expires next week, mid part of July. Now, it remains to be seen if the governor will extend that again, because the last couple times he's done this, he's waited until the 12th hour, right at the end, and hey, we're set to expire and everything's ready to go, and then boom, drops it on us for another extension. So it's very likely that he could extend that for another month, meaning that you can't, it basically just kicks the process out another month from that side of things. So we'll see if that comes through, but if not, then yes, then as of next week, for folks that have not paid rent, landlords can now serve a 10-day demand notice to at least get the clock ticking on those rents coming in. Now, the reality of that is the court system is going to have a lot of stuff going on. Some courts aren't taking cases. Some courts are taking limited cases. So it's going to be not weeks to get stuff done. It's going to be months for those folks that are truly non-payers to get them through the court system.
So it sounds like, oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say the other wrinkle in the system since the last time you and I spoke is HUD has come out. So HUD came out and HUD said this. They want to add another category to the CARES Act and just to make it more convoluted. They said, if your property has an FHA-backed mortgage, okay, so if you got a rental property and the mortgage is FHA-backed, then you may not serve a notice, you may not charge a late fee, you may not initiate any eviction process until September 1st. So that's a big deal.
Heard that.
So if you're a landlord and you've got a rental property and it's FHA, you've got a tenant in there not paying, you're sitting on your hands until the 1st of September.
Wow. And this is, as you know, I've always been a big proponent of property managers. And I think with all the stuff going on, another reason to use property managers, because that stuff is really fluid right now. And you're probably, you're up to date on the rules and the laws and stuff. So what in terms of the evictions that you have posted, are you posting them, or are you advising your clients more to, hey, let's just work out a deal with the client, either like get them paid up on rent or just do like a cash for key situation? Like in there, there's the rules, but then there's reality. What are you advising in reality?
That's right. You got to be very practical in this situation, because the practical side of it is you almost can't evict somebody right now, even if everything is on your side, just from the time process and everything. So yes, we are recommending that you stay out of being in front of the judge as much as possible. If there's any way around that, if you need to pay your tenant money to get them out, as hard as that might be to stomach, that's what you have to do, because you got to keep the big picture in mind. What's the goal for that? So we're very fortunate. We manage 1,000 doors. I think we've got two. We have two tenants right now that are kind of in that, you know what, I'm not paying and I'm not moving and I'm not talking to you. Come get me. They're being very combative that way. So that's a pretty good percentage.
Yep.
But for those two, I feel bad for our owner clients. Because we're delaying that. But other than that, yes, we're trying to be as workable as possible. We're going to folks, we're making payment arrangements like we've never made in 40 years, because we realized, given the current situation, we want to be flexible. We want to work with tenants. And most landlords I'm talking to are doing the same thing. They're being very practical, very realistic, and waiving late fees, making payment arrangements, because no landlord wants to lose a good tenant over this.
So is leasing still hot? Has that slowed down for you guys? What are you seeing in the leasing market right now?
We just had our meeting yesterday, our weekly leasing meeting, and our director of leasing she said, gosh, given the fact that this is kind of the data we're providing right now is over the 4th of July holiday weekend, this has been a really strong week thus far. So even with 4th of July holiday, the leasing market was still strong, but it was segmented, as I said earlier. So we're still seeing low demand on those downtown properties. People want to get into the suburbs. People want single families right now, just because of this COVID stuff going on. So that segment of the market still very strong.
Great. Well, are there any things you want to share before we wrap up, Mark?
If I'm talking to investor clients, as we do sometimes, and they're saying, what do I do? Do I get in the market? Do I not? It's hard to know. Our thoughts on that are, now is not a good time to go into the downtown market. That's probably going to be slow for a period of time. And we're seeing that nationally as well. If you look into other big cities nationally, California, their rents are down. In San Francisco and some of the Silicon Valley areas, they're down like 20%. They're taking a big hit because of work at home and all that stuff. So that would scare me a little bit as an investor. I'm not gonna touch that market right now. Let's see how that shakes out. But the suburban market, especially single family homes, if you're a buyer, if you're an investor, between the fact that interest rates are at a literal all-time low, you can go in and lock these things in, and you have demand, people wanting to rent properties like that. I think those signs are very positive. The only potential negative clouds we have on the horizon is the legislative stuff. If these things continue to just get pounded down homeowners' throats, that's going to really discourage small-time investors from wanting to step into this market. That's our big fear.
Great. Well, Mark, I appreciate it. Appreciate the updates. And of course, if anyone out there wants to get in touch with you, I'll put your website and your contact details in the show notes, or go to rentgrace.com, right?
Yes, sir. Rentgrace.com.
Great. Awesome, Mark. Thanks a lot.
Take care, Chris.